games, college chaos. You couldn't have asked for much more than that. You wanted it, you got it. What a great week in fantasy football. Welcome to Yards After the Catch. It is Tuesday ahead of week 13. We're talking waiver wire not. We're talking college chaos. And of course, we're talking anything that you guys want to talk about. First, great big thank you to Rob Machado, as always, for putting together that sick track that you just heard coming onto the show. You'll hear it again going off, but you can hear that and many others at reverbnation.com. Look for Rob Machado over there. He's got some really good stuff going on. Roop, there it is. How was your Thanksgiving, bud?
The Thanksgiving was great, and let me get on my soapbox here. I said last week that Thanksgiving week of football was my favorite of all. Like, I just love it. It's everything. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and all my players didn't show up on Thursday, so Thanksgiving was a dud. And then Saturday, the Sooners end up losing, so there's no championship, there's no playoffs. And then early Sunday, I'm just watching it. I'm like, I'm going to lose all of my games this week. This is what's going to happen. So it went from the best week of college football, NFL for me, to the worst. And to top it all off, my favorite part is somebody, Lincoln Riley, magically gets a phone call and ends up as the USC's head coach. Just ups and leaves OU out of the blue. And let me tell you how people feel and the mixed emotions and feeling that's been going around. It's like your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend's cheating on you. You know what? Better yet, it's like they just broke up with you and they just hook up with the person they said they were just friends with. Like, oh, it's just a friend. It's not a big deal. Well, to top it all off, at the end of it, watching his interview at USC was like watching their lovemaking video, and it was like so bitter and anger, but happiness. I was like, you know what? Good for you. Do what you want to do for your family, and we wish you all the best, and that's fine. But it did leave a really sour taste in some people's mouths. So I'm going to leave you with this, okay? Lincoln Riley left OU. We want Bama. I was like, no. See, he went from Boomer Sooner, right? He went from there's only one Oklahoma to USC fight on. So we're just going to leave this back here just in case anybody else missed that little segment. But Boomer Sooner, we're going to make this happen. And don't worry about Sooner fans. We'll be all right. It was a bad weekend for me all across the board. But Mr. Payne, sir, how are you? How was everything with you? How was the host with the most? What do you think, buddy?
Man, I definitely have as much reason to jump on your soapbox as you do, and I'm going to once we get to college chaos. But I'm going to hold back. I'm going to do my best because I feel your pain. I'm not mad at you at all. That's why I gave you the spotlight there for a little bit because I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I think the fact that he left like that, that was a slap in the face, if anything. We're going to talk about that because I have a lot to say about that as well. But let's get into it. Fantasy football, you brought up the fact that you started right off. Thanksgiving sucked. Yeah, I think a lot of people had that problem, unless of course they played played Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, don't get me wrong. Prescott, he threw for 375. He definitely got me some points. He got points. Points were out there. They were to be had. So I'm not too mad at Thanksgiving, but yeah, Sunday was ugly. It's kind of turned into you either got the guys that performed or you don't. And there's not a lot of middle ground, at least for this last week. We're going to kind of see that on the waiver wires, on the waiver list as well, which is super thin. So hopefully your team is set up for success right now because the waiver wire, it's ugly. It's ugly. So if you have – let's just do what we normally do. Let's not break format. Let's go right to quarterbacks, and there aren't any. Okay, so let's go to running backs. If you don't have a handcuff, there aren't any. Let's go ahead and do wide receivers. There's a couple 1 week plays out there, but other than that, you better have somebody. We'll go back to quarterbacks, but I don't know what you're seeing on the waiver wire right now, and we're going to get into it. And if we stick to just quarterbacks, I really mean it. There's not anybody out there. And if you think there's somebody out there, let us know. And I'm going to tell you why there's not. But yeah, Rob says, let's do kickers. There's nobody out there. So, I mean, it's that time of season. It's that time of year. This is the time where people are locked up. They're on the bubble or they're already out. And there isn't a lot of in between. We're going into week 13. We got playoffs starting in the next week or two, depending on your league's format. And it's just you got one or two games left. And at this point, if you're not on the bubble, then you're probably not in the postseason.
And that's true. Like, this is go time. You have no time to waste now. Like, right now, you need to find who's on your team that's going to be starting. Check every week for the rest of the season through the playoffs. Find out who's going to be in your lineup. Play with it a little bit. If there's two guys on your bench that you know you're not putting in, it would be really lucky if everybody fell in front of them. You can go ahead and if there's somebody on the waiver wire that might help you, or a backup to your running back, or something to help you, go ahead and drop those two people and pick two new ones up. They've been riding your bench all season long. If you need some help this week, drop them. Just drop them. You have to make playoffs, and you have maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, depending on the format. Get ready. You have to do it now. I know I need to win at least 1 or 2 of the next games in almost all the leagues to actually place. So I had a lot of injuries, and there's some injuries that happened recently that we're going to touch a little bit tonight.
Yeah, injuries are killing people. You're not the only one. Injuries, I think injuries have probably had the biggest impact this year. And I think we hear about them more because of the media and because we have so many outlets to hear it. But I really felt that this year we really felt the injuries a lot more just across the league. And then the busts as well. Nobody saw Russell Wilson, going TU like he has. Metcalf was not supposed to have this bad a year. We can go on and on about busts. McCaffrey, I kind of expected because he was such a huge number one pick, and number one pick typically ends up getting hurt. It's kind of like the Madden curse. But I don't think anybody expected it to be this bad. Again, at quarterback, here's the names you're hearing at quarterback this week. All right. We always say we're not going to say the same stuff that everybody's saying because we're not. A lot of people are telling you to take these people, and I'm telling you why you probably don't want to do that. Your quarterback should be set, okay? If you're on the bubble, you may be looking to take a chance, and so you might be looking at some of these names. Don't bother, and we're going to tell you why. So one of the names you're hearing, of course, is Tua, but
that's pretty decent.
Tua is going to play the Giants, all right? Giants are number 11 versus quarterbacks. They only gave Hurts, who's quarterback number 2 this year. So if you had Hurts, good on you. Nice call. He's the second highest scoring fantasy back in the league this year. But Hurts only got 9 points off the Giants. Okay. Yeah, Brady is Brady. He's number 4. He got 20 points. We'll set that in a different category because he's the GOAT. He gets his own little category. Carr only got 12 points off the Giants. Mahomes even only got 15 points off the Giants. That's when he was playing decent. So don't expect a lot of points from Tua versus the Giants this week. Not the risk that you want to take. Taysom Hill, coach just came out and said he's got a plantar tear, and so he probably or might not go on Thursday. And if he does, is he going to be 100%? I don't know if you want to play that, especially against the Cowboys D. Cowboys are getting one of their top cornerbacks back. Which is only going to help that D. That D has looked bad over the last week, but with that cornerback addition and Hill not having played in weeks, I don't know if you want to do that. You're hearing Heineke. I love Heineke playing Las Vegas. Here's the thing about Las Vegas, Heineke. Las Vegas gave Prescott 375 yards. They gave Mahomes 406 yards. Those guys, top-tier quarterbacks. Your lower-tier quarterback, Burrow, 148. Jones, 110. Is Heineke at the same level as Prescott and Mahomes? I'm going to say no, and so I'm going to gather that Heineke's probably not going to get a lot of points this week against Las Vegas. And the last name you're hearing a lot of is Mac Jones. Mac Jones playing fantastic ball. I said that Mac Jones was a great replacement for Brady when they drafted him. He's put up 20 points against Cleveland. He put 22 against Tennessee, but he only put up 11 against a dreadful Atlanta defense. They've got Buffalo next, who lost one of their top quarterbacks, but then he's got a bye after that. So if Mac has anything for you, it's only for this week, and I don't think he's going to have a lot for you because he's really not putting up a ton of points anyway. That's my quarterback rant, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
I like Heineke. I mean, he's going to be playing in the Dome in Las Vegas. You hope he's going to put up some points. I might have to because of injuries for a quarterback, but I was looking at Mac Jones, okay? I had him a couple weeks ago. He made me some points. I was like, awesome. And then I kept him in, and then he just dropped right back down and had like next to nothing, and it cost me a game. And then, so I just tossed him away. What does he do? He goes right back up. Well, guess what? He's playing Buffalo this week. I don't think he's going to put up 30 points against Buffalo. He might have to end up throwing. I just think that's going to be a lower scoring game than you would really think. And like I said, like your quarterback should be set. You should know who's been out there, watching them every week. If they're still on the waivers after all this time, unless somebody got hurt and dropped out, just leave them there.
Yeah, we got a question. Should I put Allen on my bench and put Garoppolo in? That's one of those things where you're really looking at the matchups. New England does have the second best. No, I take that back. That's against the run. Hold on. No, they do have the second best. They're the second best against the quarterbacks this year, with a Belichick team. So you kind of got to make that call if you think, because, I mean, Garoppolo is not a numbers funnel. He's not throwing up huge numbers for you every week in the first place. So to sit Allen, that's a big step. Who does Garoppolo got? Seattle. I mean, Seattle's a nice team to play, but again, we kind of always go with the rule: always play your studs here at yards after the catch. And Allen is number one fantasy quarterback of the year so far. So
I see. The thing is, San Francisco's running the ball a lot the last several weeks, and Garoppolo will get you maybe a touchdown or two, maybe 20 points. Josh Allen has the higher ceiling. We just don't sit the studs. I made the mistake once and still got lucky with a win. But if he's your, first, second, third round guys and they're healthy, I just play him. Like, you just can't sit. I won't do it ever again. I can't. Like, sometimes you're going to take that hit and you just deal with it.
Now you bring up Wentz and Wilson. Of course, Wilson is going up against San Francisco. And San Francisco's defense is sitting at 20th against the pass, so they're letting things happen. But Wilson is just not performing right now. That team is not in a good place. I wouldn't make that play. And then you ask about Wentz. Sorry, I was just looking at it. Wentz is playing Houston, and Houston is sitting at like 20 against the pass, so that's not a horrible play. 19th against the pass. So, I mean, it's not a horrible play. It's just I don't know if you want to sit Allen to do it. So, good question. You definitely have something to ponder there. Me, personally, I'm playing Allen every day, all day. He's number one in fantasy points this year. He plays. For me, he plays.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I mean, I can't pull myself to sit Wentz over Allen, although the matchup looks better. Wentz can give you 12 points and Allen can give you 25, 30, even though it's a tougher matchup. So, yeah. I mean, it could be vice versa. I mean, Wentz did do pretty well.
But Wentz is definitely boom or bust. I mean, he's gotten me some great points, and he's really laid a goose egg a couple times. Thankfully, I didn't have him in for those games. But, yeah. So, I don't know. Again, for me, Murray plays. Allen plays. I'm looking at Murray. Murray is hopeful, in quotes, hopeful that he's going to play, but they don't know. They don't know. So pay attention this week on Murray. Pay attention to see if he practices. If he gets in some full practices by Thursday and Friday, expect him to play. If he doesn't, don't expect Murray to play, because that's really the big indicator. If you're not practicing him full on Thursday and Friday, you're probably not going to play. Very few instances it actually happens, which brings up players like Amari Cooper, who they're saying is going to play, but coach says he's still very much under the weather, so you need to keep an eye on that. Zeke, again, expected to play. He is logging full practices, so I would expect Zeke to play. Same with Lamb. Lamb is kind of up in the air, but he's logging full practices, so I would expect him to play. Just don't listen to Jerry Jones. Listen to the coach and the medical staff if he's going to play or not, and keep an eye on it. Be prepared to make that move on Thursday real quick before the game starts when it comes to those guys. Running backs. So running backs, we kind of brought it up last week. If you listen to all the contrarian stuff, they were actually right in saying that week 12 was kind of the week to start locking up the handcuffs. And I would say in no week this season has it been more true than week 12. We see Swift go down. We see Cook go down. We see Sanders go back down. We see C-Mac go back down. And, of course, Henry is hurt. These are all big places that you might be able to profit. So with Swift going down, obviously Jamal Williams is the recipient, 15 rushes and 5 receptions. They got Minnesota, who's 26 versus the running back. I feel pretty safe with Jamal Williams. I think people are going to be fighting over him a lot this week.
Yeah, you named a lot of big players, and here's the thing. If those teams are in contention or up at the top even, they're going to be looking at these, backups and saying, I got to get these guys for however many weeks. Alexander Madison's supposed to be there for a couple weeks for Cook. Chuba Hubbard is supposed to be there for CMC. They're on a bye this week, so you might be able to get them for a little cheaper. But somebody's depending on what position they're in, do that homework, go in the league, find out who owns them, and then see how much you can probably have to waiver. Check their fab money. Maybe you only have to put up X amount because they've used all of it already, because they had to cover for McCaffrey earlier in the year, something like that. So you don't have to blow everything on just one player, but you really have to check all these little tiny minute details here at the end.
Yeah, no, it's true. Madison has performed well the 2 weeks that he was the full guy with Cook out, but he's also put up some pretty crappy numbers. So be careful with Madison. I do like Williams. They're not afraid to use him. Keep an eye on Swift to make sure he's going to be out, but it looks like he probably will be out. Boston Scott looking decent with Sanders going down, but they got kind of a committee down there, even with their backfield. Hurts is going to hog some of those numbers. Still got 15 rush attempts from Scott. Just be careful because they do like to bounce it around. They do have the Jets this week, 23rd versus the run. So check Philly, check Scott. He might be a good play for you. The nice thing about Hubbard, the bad thing about Hubbard is he's on bye weeks. We can't help you this week. That said, he's going to be the guy the rest of the season because C-Mac is out for the rest of the season. So Hubbard is a nice pickup, especially if you don't need him for this week. Hubbard is a really nice pickup because you'll be able to get him real cheap. No one else is going to be looking at him because he's on the bye week, and you might be able to get him quite easy. Hillard is the other guy, of course, in Tennessee. If you picked him up right after the injury like me, you were very disappointed and may have dropped him, may have gone after Foreman, who they completely switched roles. Hillard went for 123 yards on 12 carries, but they are also on bye week. Tennessee is. So, again, no help for you this week, and who knows what's going to happen after the bye week. But maybe, again, a cheap pickup there. But Williams and Scott are going to be the two guys you're really going to be fighting over this week. There it is.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you talked about the Jets, and I believe it was Ty Johnson. I was like, this guy's coming in. He's getting all the passes. And next thing I know, Tevin Coleman gets all the rushes. And they bring in Austin Walker, I believe it was. And he just shows up as well, gets a touchdown. These are the things that, like, some of these committee backfields can be pretty dangerous. Why Chuba Hubbard, although he's a great play, and Madison, a couple weeks might help you out a little bit, but they are the guy in those scenarios. So you got to play the cards and hope they don't tank that week you pick them up. It's happened multiple times this week or this year, and it just happens. So
tell me about it. Like I'm getting tired of having. I picked up Hillard. We talked about it. We said Hillard pick him up. They didn't play him very much the first week, and then the next week, now he's the man. And frankly, he went off. But like you said, we don't know what's going to happen next week. So, like, this is what I'm getting at the beginning of the show, is that the waiver wire is really thin. So I hope you've got your stuff lined up. I don't know. So unless you have anything else, we can get into wide receivers.
Yeah, let's go to wide receivers. What do you got?
Outstanding. So wide receivers. So wide receivers are interesting because what you saw, and we'll go right to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is going to be a place a lot of people are looking because they saw what Deshaun Jackson was doing there. They know that we need to keep an eye on Waller. Waller may be injured, and if Waller's injured, that's going to be an uptick in Jackson and Renfro's targets. I have no problem with it because next up for Washington, the worst pass defense in the league, the Washington football team. And after that, the 29th worst in Kansas City, even though their defense is getting a lot better. So be cautious there. Remember that they're ranked 29th over the whole season. And Kansas City is definitely one of those defenses that a lot of people are telling you to stream this week because they have been getting a lot better. And then they have Cleveland after that, who's right in the middle there at 16. So they've got matchups, especially with Waller out. If you need somebody at wide receiver, Jackson or Renfro may be an option for you.
Yeah, we talked about Renfro a couple weeks back, and I did pick him up in anywhere that he was available, and he has put dividends through the roof. With I guess we can do a tight end real quick with Foster Moreau taking over. I think that'll be a good spot to at least for maybe a week or two. But I'm not so sure of the matchups and are they really going to use him that much? Like, is he going to come in and put up what numbers Darren Waller should have had? That's my question. Is like I'm just not. I want to pick him up, and I might in a couple leagues because I'm hurting, but I'm just scared of it. But I was thinking Brandon Ayuk because Debo is injured, and I'm not sure when he's going to come back.
No,
And
Ayuk is definitely on that list. He's a great pickup right now. He's already been picking it up in numbers anyway, and now with Debo going to be out for probably at least a couple weeks, I think, honestly, from what you're hearing. It's something to keep an eye on to see just how long he's going to be out. But even if he does come back, he's not going to be 100%. Ayuk is definitely getting an uptick. He went from 4 targets in week 10 to 7 targets in week 11, 6 targets in week 12. Week 10, he put up 14 points because he had the toddy, but week 12, 9 points. If he'd gotten the toddy, he would have had 15. So, he's getting the targets. He's putting up yards, 85 in week 11, 91 in week 12. And with Debo out, that's only going to help.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. I got something else for you. These Rams players, we didn't know what they're going to do with Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson, some of these players that are just all over the place, wherever they're playing. They're getting some points, but like Van Jefferson, he got 3 for 9 for 93 yards and a touchdown. Like that's not great, but he got you enough points to save your day.
That touchdown definitely helps, right?
Yeah, I think it was a 52-yard touchdown. So don't just pay attention to the 93 yards. I mean, really, it was 2 catches for 50 yards, 35 yards, whatever it was. And it's kind of scary, but if there's nobody out there and you just lost Debo for a couple weeks, some of these guys might still be on the wire. We're talking about people that are not sitting on anybody.
And look, Van Jefferson's got Jacksonville's defense coming up. He's got Arizona and Seattle after that. So opportunities are there. The thing that's a little scary about this is why I don't like Van Jefferson. Okay. And you can go back on week 7. He had 7 targets, but only caught 4 of them. Week 8, 6 targets, only caught 3 of them. Week 9 and 10, he had 7 targets, but only caught 3 of them. A quarterback's only going to go to a guy, and then last week 9 targets and only caught 3 of them. He's busting out a route every once in a while, but how long is a quarterback going to keep wasting 3 to 6 passes a game on a guy who's not catching the ball? And I don't have game film here. I don't know how many of them were uncatchable or whatever, well defended. But you have that many targets with that few catches, that's going to catch up to you.
Yeah, like you said, you don't even know if some of those are throwaways or he's just in the area and he's about to get sacked, so he just throws it away towards him. We don't have that information right here. I'm not going to spend time on that because we just want the numbers. That's what we want. And
Yeah.
he's got the nice matchups. He looks like he's going to have to throw some touchdowns. I mean, even with Deshaun Jackson in Las Vegas, he had 3 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. 3 catches could be 30 yards and 0 touchdowns, and you got 3 points in there. So it can really change your day. Sure, we're saying these names out here. This is like last choice. All my team fell this weekend. Maybe you're the one at the top now, and they've finally lost everybody. It's an idea, but I'm not putting I'm not putting the bank on it or anything at all.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's so hard right now to find an actual viable option. I do like Ayuk a lot. I think you can gamble on Las Vegas's receivers. And the Giants, to flip the other side of that, the Giants are playing Las Vegas next week, who are giving up good points to wide receivers. You just got to know which ones are going to be healthy. That's the key there. I just had Las Vegas 22nd against wide receivers, so good points to be had if you can nail down the Giants receiver who's going to be healthy. The names you're hearing a lot of this week is Gage. You're hearing Hilton. You're hearing Scantling, things like that. These guys are getting 4 targets a game. Gage, Hilton, and Scantling all getting like 4 targets a game. So yeah, they might bust a play or something like that, but touchdown dependent. If they don't get in the end zone, they're not going to be giving you any points. So when you hear these names, God dang, other than Cordell Patterson, I don't want anything to do with Atlanta at all. Those guys, that offense is absolutely horrible.
Yeah, they're definitely riding Cordell, and it's killing me because I didn't take a tight end early, and then I got Kyle Pitts, and every time I sit him on the bench, he goes off, and every time I put him in, he gets me 5, and I'm pretty much over that. So I'm trying to find somebody else. Like I'd rather put Foster Moreau in because at least I know he should get the targets. I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't even know what to do anymore. Like I'm gonna flip a coin and like that guy's in, and I'm not gonna change it Sunday morning because I did that recently and that cost me the game. So thanks McKissick for going off. Appreciate that.
Rob brings up the fact that OBJ is looking to move himself up in the pecking order there. I can't do OBJ anymore. But I mean, how do you feel about him?
No.
Yeah, that about sums it up, folks. So I mean, if you want to take the chance on OBJ, you go right ahead. Let us know how it turns out, Rob.
Great start, a great play. I think Kupp is still the guy there. You can't base anything off of a week or two. You have to by week 3 of the season. But right now, Kupp is still the guy. I mean, if you were going to bank on it, put everything on the line, this is championship weekend. You're going to and start OBJ or Kupp. Who are you putting in? I mean, if you have to, put both, but I would put Kupp in. And just the chemistry they've had all season is not going to change.
Rob says it doesn't matter. Nobody dropped him, and that's pretty much the truth there. Rob, you say there's one good tight end. Who is that tight end? If you'll let us know who you think that is. I think all the tight ends, tight end is that position where there's a couple good ones that you can count on every week, and even Kelsey hasn't been 100% dependent like he should have been as usual. But and then you have a couple that just happen to perform each week. And then pretty much all the rest of them are boom or bust, probably not doing too much. And you see that when you look at guys like Conklin, who have a week here and there, Everett, who have a week, Freiermuth, the rookie, having a week here or there. Not a lot of consistency at the tight end. Even Pitts has had a couple, boom or bust game. But with Atlanta playing as horrible as they are, you would think Pitts would be a main target, and he's not, which is why Atlanta sucks. But you have skilled players and you don't use them, especially at the tight end position. Tight end's an extra wide receiver for you. You guys are big, they're strong, they got good hands, and Logan Thomas has been hurt all year, so that hasn't helped anybody.
Yeah, I actually moved him back in one of my lineups finally. That was kind of enjoyable because I think I'm going to need his help. And I don't know about running off to go get Jack Doyle as tight end. I know he's got a great matchup with Houston. He's
Yeah,
got
but
20
let me tell
points.
you about the Indy tight ends because I've been running with them and chasing them all year in one of my leagues, and I'll pick up Mo Alley Cox, and he won't catch anything. Doyle will get it, and then you pick up Doyle, and the other guy, the new guy, will catch two touchdowns that week, and they're just you can't count on that. Rob says Andrews doing it. Andrews is probably, I think Andrews is the top tight end in the league this year because Kelsey has not been consistent. Andrews is that guy that you can count on every single week for the most part to get you something. I like Andrews better than Kelsey this year, but I definitely thought you were talking about people that might be available to pick up. And so in that case, yes, Rob, I agree with you that Andrews is fantastic.
Yeah, actually, Andrews, can you do better last year for me? I'd really appreciate that.
Can we go back? We just
Can we go
need
back?
you to go back for me. And I still think Andrews was the top tight. What was he not? No, Kelsey was. But
Kelsey.
yeah, I think Andrews was still top. Was number 2, number 3 in the league last year. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't remember that far back. I've got too many numbers in my head. But yeah, Andrews got 12 points this week in a dismal game. So if you had Andrews this week, then you were glad to have him. Of course,
It was
if you
Kelsey,
had
Waller, Logan Thomas, Robert Tonyan, Hawkinson, and then Andrews last year, depending on your
there
league.
you go. Okay, so right there in the mix as always. I remember we talked about him. Yeah, so let's talk about some busts. Kittle. And we talk about the injuries, you talk about the bust, and this year has just gone hand in hand. McCaffrey with Kittle, so many guys just going down that were supposed to be in there and get you lots and lots of points, and it just didn't happen. Kittle is definitely one of them. Gesicki, I think Parker out of Miami, Logan Thomas out of Washington. Just so many guys that were supposed to get you a lot of stuff, and then injuries happen, and this is fantasy football.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you don't have to give up, no matter where you're at. If you're one game out, you're still in it because, yeah, like Dawson Knox is good. You're still in it because if you haven't noticed, people are dropping like flies, and I don't want anybody to get injured, but it's been happening nonstop. Those guys at the top that have 9 wins or whatever it is, those players can still get injured or pull a hammy or just get dehydrated at the end. Like, it's not over. Anybody can win. I've seen the
Yeah,
people that were sixth in the playoffs go out there and win it all. So all you have to do is sell out the next couple of weeks, get in to the playoffs, and then let it play out how it plays out.
yeah, you got to get in. You can't if you're not in, and that's the thing. Just concentrate on these next 1 or 2 games, whatever it is you need, and get in. And once you get there, the whole season starts over. I've won the whole thing from 6th position myself, so it can happen. Knox is fantastic. Just don't leave him on the bench like I did. Luckily, I had another good tight end that did well. But yeah, that was not cool. So guys, whatever questions you got, let us know. We want to answer your questions. We want to help you out. What was the one that we had today? We had somebody asking us a question that we were working on today. Jason was asking us through Messenger yards after the catch. He's part of the group. And I believe he's subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you're doing it wrong. Subscribe to the channel.
He had to move Ingram onto his bench from IR and then dropping one of the players. We recommended Stevenson, I believe, because you chimed in first and I said, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like Stevenson, like he's on my bench as well, and I'm looking to try to replace him with something. It's too shaky over there, and for him in that position, Ingram's supposed to be taking all the reps. And for the next
And he
game,
had Harris too. He already had Harris, so there was no
Right.
reason for him to keep. And I'm just looking this up right now, which is why I'm looking off camera. Yeah, he already had Harris, so there was no reason for him to maintain Stevenson taking up that roster spot when he probably wasn't going to play him in the first place. I believe he was also contemplating dropping Claypool, which I was on board with. Being that Pittsburgh's offense is just a dumpster fire right now. And
Thanks, Ben.
what's that?
I said, thanks, Ben.
Yeah, and and he had Jamal Williams, but CEH is back, so you don't expect Jamal Williams, not Jamal Williams, but Daryl Williams, and with CEH back, Daryl Williams probably not going to get a lot of work, so not a lot of reason to hold on to him either. It is the time of handcuffs. CEH could get hurt again, so you got to kind of figure out. For me, I'm getting rid of Williams or Stevenson, and that's what we said. But these are the type of questions that we get from you guys, and those are the things that we love about you.
Yeah, and we try to answer you as fast as we can, and kind of explain reasons why we're saying what we're saying. And I said drop Stevenson because you have Harris. It's fine. I don't even have Harris, and I'm actually still thinking about dropping Stevenson. I need a hope and a prayer and a wish and something, and I need to make a change because these guys are right on my bench really don't mean much to me right now. I mean, last 5 weeks are coming up, and it's time to hit that ground running.
We had another question from Rachel during the week. It was on Sunday. She was looking for play advice, start or sit situation, and was asking about a player that she picked up. And I said, well, why did you pick him up? Did you pick him up to play him, or did you just pick him up to pick him up? And she's like, well, I picked him up because it was a good pick. We had said that it was a good pick, and so she picked him up, and I said, well, then play him, and she did, and she got some points off it. So, glad we could help there, Rachel. But if you're going to pick somebody up, then you probably picked them up to play him. So go ahead and play him. Don't question your decision. Otherwise, just one of the shows I listen to, Jeff Radcliffe, I brought him up before. He always says, make sure your story makes sense. So when you pick somebody up, you had a reason for picking up, and your story needs to make sense for why you picked them up. Did you pick them up to play them? Did you pick them up so no one else could? Understand why you picked somebody up and then follow it through. If you picked them up to play them, then play them.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, besides Chuba Hubbard this week, if you pick him up, you probably want to keep him out of your lineup. But other than that, that stands true.
Yeah. Well, I'd play him if your team's playing. Yeah, that's a option there. So as usual, hey, throughout the show, if you guys have questions, just hit us up. We definitely will answer those questions. But this weekend, we talk about college chaos, and it is chaotic. It's chaotic every week, but this last weekend was the weekend that we all kind of wait for. It's rivalry week. Anything can happen. Anything did happen this weekend. I don't think we would have. I think this weekend was probably the most chaotic. And maybe this coming weekend with all the championship games, there's definitely going to be some ramifications, but I still think rivalry week is going to have the most implications across the board.
Yeah, it was kind of a wild weekend. I mean, it's college chaos. That's what it is. We love it. But here's the thing. All my picks that I was like, maybe there's some upsets.
Oh, every single one.
Every single one I lost. I went over this weekend. You know what? There was still upsets, which was pretty wild. And, I mean, I have more picks. They're not even like hopefuls. It's just, hey, let's just call some games and keep the chaos going. Let's see if we can break some records of how many upsets we can have in a season. I don't even know the number, but I'm sure we're getting really close.
It's just been, I mean, it's been like that. And that, I mean, you want to see that. Don't get me wrong. That's what makes college football. What you don't want to see is the controversy. And we were talking about this before. I've talked about it. You're not supposed to bring up the refs, right? Because if you bring up the refs, you're just whining. You're making excuses. So let me preface this, my next statement, with the fact that I do not believe that the refs' inconsistencies this weekend had any agenda. I don't think there was a plan for certain teams to win and other teams to lose or anything like that. I'm not into the conspiracy theories and all that about Alabama needs to win and Alabama's going to win this week. so that Georgia and Alabama both have losses and they both get in. And I don't buy into that stuff. I think there's too many moving pieces. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I digress. I don't think what I'm about to say had what was done on purpose. That said, my problem with this weekend, and I loved this weekend, I love watching all the games. I love how many of them came down to the wire. Alabama and Auburn going to overtime. Oklahoma just about pulling it out. It was, man, edge of your seat, fantastic college football this weekend. What I didn't appreciate was the inconsistencies from the refs. And what I mean by that is you've got 12 penalties on Ohio State to Michigan's 2. And I'm not talking about the false starts. I'm talking about all the inconsistent holding calls, because we know holding happens on every play, yet Ohio State seemed to get called on so many more and at crucial moments. Drive stopping, momentum stopping moments. Ohio State seemed to get these penalties. I don't care if you're going to call them or not call them, but let's be consistent. The Oklahoma game, with the pass interference in the end zone at the end of the game, it was clearly pass interference. It was textbook pass interference. I've seen far, far, far less things get called for pass interference than this blatant pass interference that just magically doesn't get called in front of everybody. There's literally nowhere on the field that the refs could have been looking but at this infraction be committed, and yet there's nobody throws a flag. And I just don't understand it. And the Alabama touchdown that took it to overtime, the receiver clearly pushes off the defensive back. It happens all the time. It happens every play. But again, there's no flags. There's no talk about it. It's just Alabama magically ties this up at the end. And so now we get to go to overtime. And I just didn't like it. I don't like the fact that it has to be brought up. I think refs are there to do a job and they should be consistent. And I expect a better job, especially during rivalry week. And it shouldn't be that noticeable. It shouldn't be that blatant. We should be able to argue about what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, we really can't.
You really can't. I mean, I had a discussion with someone who said, well, what about all the holding calls that Ohio State did? Or, and I'm looking at the camera angles of, the non-calls in an Alabama game where you see the camera looking over at the ref, looking at the play, no call. The Oklahoma game where they picked up a flag, and I'm like, you saw something, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe I didn't see it, but the replay shows there was, and then you just, it's not like you were glanced over at the big screen and said, oh yeah, I pick it up because that was a bad call. No, it showed it. So leave it there. You guys made a huge mistake there. In the Ohio State-Michigan game where Michigan was holding an Ohio State player in the end zone by both feet. He fell over and then tried to get up, and the guy held him tighter and then pulled him 2 feet. And the guy, of course, Ohio State replies with a little rip of the helmet. And then there's 2 players coming over at the Ohio State guy. Now Michigan's all up in his face with taunting and all this back and forth. And then everybody gets pulled apart. And then another Michigan player comes over to Ohio State and gets on his face, brushing, hitting shoulders. And I'm like, okay, this will probably be 3-4 flags, offsetting penalties. No, it was just against Ohio State. And I can't stand when they do that. When there's nobody's just like, I don't want you, your helmet's coming off. There's a reason why it's happening. And all you have to do is come on, replay booth, look up in this, just look down, look up, whatever you got to figure it out. This is why I would have loved replay, or I would love flags being thrown when they look at replay, especially oh yeah, that's a touchdown. Oh wait, no, there's a holding over there that we missed. It's coming back. That's what I want to see, because let's make it perfect. I mean, there's human error, and I get that, but there are inconsistent human errors on one side or the other, and fans don't like it. Just like when the little brothers lose every year to the top dogs. Well, what about all the holding calls? They're upset. They want that fairness too, and it's not only just the Alabamas of the world, or the Georgia. They want everything fair, and I would bring it all. I would make these games another 30 minutes longer just to make it fair across the board. That's what I'd rather have, because I don't want the play to be that was holding, or that was offsides, or something like pass interference in the end zone, and everybody's looking around So everybody saw it but the ref 4 feet away. Let's fix that. We have to fix that.
Yeah, they've got the ability. The replay booth has the ability to chime in on other plays during the game. They should be able to chime in on that stuff as well. But enough about the refs at this point. There was some fantastic football this weekend, refs aside, and it was really a good time to watch. After the rivalry week is wrapped up, and this is something I've always kind of had a problem with: is the coaching carousel starts after rivalry week, not after the end of the season. And so you've already got coaches moving around. The season isn't even over yet, and then once the regular season is over, you're going to see a lot more coaches move around before bowl games. And I think this is so distracting for the players who have worked so hard to get where they are. And I think the biggest example of that currently is Oklahoma. Those players have worked so hard and they've earned a spot, and they lost this fantastic bedlam game to Oklahoma State. Fair or not, we'll leave that for another discussion. And then within 24 hours after the game, there's still a bowl game coming up. They're definitely going to a bowl game. They're going to probably a pretty good bowl game based on how they finished. And the players don't have a coach. Coach just decides that he's going to go take the job at USC, which I don't have a problem with. If you want to go take another job somewhere, go take another job somewhere. I am going to call him out. I think Lincoln Riley made a bitch move. I think he's scared. I think it was cowardice to move over to the Pac-12 when you're a team that you've spent so much time with, that you've made a dominant and significant program within all of college football, now moving over to really not arguably the strongest division in college football, the SEC, and you jump ship. And to me, it looks like Lincoln Riley is scared of the SEC. He's scared of the competition with recruiting. He's scared of the competition with teams. He's scared of ruining his legacy. And so he goes over and takes a job in the Pac-12, where if you can put up a decent team, you have a shot at the Pac-12 title every year. To me, it was a coward move. And I lost a lot of respect for Lincoln Riley for leaving his team early, and for not taking the challenge of the SEC. SEC is where you want to be, is what I thought.
Yeah, the funny thing is the sign back here says we want Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson. No, we want USC. That's what we want. It's Boomer Sooner. We want USC. If we go 7, we can match them, or 5-7. I mean, I care, whatever. Just play them some bowl game somewhere. I would really like that. I can't wait to see it in the next few years, because I know somebody's going to try to put that together, or even in the playoffs would be better. And I hope we stomp them. Did I just become an Oregon fan, or Utah fan? Because that's the way I'm feeling right now. Just
everybody except USC. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, everybody in Southern California is excited, and I get it. Okay, they got way more money. It's California. Like, I've lived in California most of my life, and I moved to Oklahoma. Now I'm not making $100 million or whatever it rivalries. I don't have a $6 million home and all these perks, or a private plane for the family. All these things are wonderful, but I feel like it's a move to keep his winning percentage up. I know SEC is going to be tougher, but that's just going to make you grow. That's the challenge. A challenge would be to stay at OU and go into the SEC and dominate. That's a challenge. Go into SC and dominate the Pac-12. I think he can pull off, and I want him to be successful, but not when he plays OU, and I hope they do, because I want to stomp him and then do some Baker Mayfield moves, if you will. But it's one of those things where it sits bitter in your mouth when you just boom jump a plane. He got a call really magically Sunday morning right after the game. How do you not have that plan months in advance? I know he saw it when they fired their coach in September, but You were
Well, it's funny
long-term.
because on Saturday he's denying the LSU rumors, and then on Sunday he's accepting the job at USC. So he had no problem saying, I'm not taking the job at LSU, but forgets to add on the fact because I'm taking the job at USC. T-Bone asks us, should I Freiermuth or Logan Thomas? I'm saying definitely Logan Thomas over Freiermuth. I love Freiermuth. I have him on a few rosters, but Pittsburgh's offense is just horrible. Roethlisberger is playing the worst he's ever played. I think he's just done. It's okay. He put in his time. It's time for him to step aside. But with Thomas coming back, Thomas is definitely one of the elite tight ends in the NFL. It'll be nice to have him back. He's going to be on a snap count, and that's the difference. Thomas's play is going to be limited, and so that is something to factor. Me personally, I'm still playing Thomas over Freiermuth. Root, what do you got?
Yeah, I actually like Thomas over Freiermuth. I just not really sure what's going on over there. Thomas, I know, is the guy. I have more faith in him, even though he hasn't been playing. Just he'll get the look in the end zone. So I'll lean towards that route for sure.
Yeah, I agree. T-Bone, thanks for joining the show once again. We love to have you around. Thanks for watching and supporting the show. Love to have you here. Rob, you too. Rob says Sweater Vest is still out there. I'd love to see him come back. You can be an OU fan. I suppose that's true. I don't know if that's going to be the move that's made. I mean, the other issue I have with Riley is Riley took a lot with him. Riley's taken a lot of the staff with him. There was already a 5-star quarterback recruit that decommitted. Oklahoma is verbally committed to USC now, which I understand from a recruiting aspect. You signed on to be under a certain skill set of a coach, and so I would decommit and recommit to follow that coach. I can see that as well. So Oklahoma obviously is the big loser here. Do they keep somebody? Are they going to look to hire somebody, or are they just going to keep somebody on staff and let them have a year to see what they do? Knowing that Lincoln Riley is taking so many people with him.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I get it. Like, SC has way more money. There's way more crop. There's way more schools to choose from in a close area. When you talk about Oklahoma, you have to fly, go down to Dallas, and then you got to go, down to Florida, and then California. He's pulled people from SC to come to Oklahoma. And so now all he has to do is go in his backyard. And I totally get that. It makes sense for, recruiting purposes. It's kind of I want to say a little sellout move, a little just kind of easier way out. I don't want to say challenging because, I mean, it has the money, it has everything right in its grasp. So congratulations to that. But I'm okay with him taking, Grinch, the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, or lineman, or strength and conditioning, whatever he took with him. Take his whole crew, so they're still a group, and they'll make SC a better program. And when we get someone else, hopefully like Brent Venables or something, come back to OU and turning out an awesome defense and become the head coach and really pull for being competitive still. And like Bob Stoops said, it's not just one man makes your program; it's the players. The players make the program. So the coach can go. We'll move on from it. We'll grow from it. We'll learn from it. And we'll get someone in here who wants to be a program guy and is going to take this to the championship. And, Lincoln Riley was close several times. He failed to make it. Maybe you have a chance, being in the Pac-12. But we're going to get somebody in here, hopefully, that can pull the strings and get it done. And I am available for pretty good price. Just saying.
Yeah. That's good. Nice of you to make sure that polish up that resume real quick. Some other moves, of course, we know Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly was already going to be out at Notre Dame, so that's not really a surprise. But he's taken on the challenge. I think like Lincoln Riley is not. He's going to go to LSU. He's going to go try and bring some of that skill set to the SEC. So it'll be interesting to watch him there. Brent Pry. What's that?
I can't believe he already got fired. Why don't you?
I mean, it's Notre Dame.
How are you gonna take a team to a championship? The next year you have a bad season, and then you lose like your top 3 wide receivers. I was looking at them, and they're all like with their knee like on this cart in the end zone, just watching their team, supporting them. And there's like, well, you're out as coach. I'm like, but you still have the players. People get injured. Like the top teams end up getting injured. They don't win the championship. Championship teams are normally fairly healthy in the championship game. And I'm not blaming the coach on that one. And the fact that you can win a championship and then be out a couple years later, I would not want to work at LSU. And you couldn't pay me 100. Well, I could.
No, I agree. Like, there's just some. I mean, OB was a fantastic coach. I still think he's a fantastic coach. I'm interested to see where he's going to land because I really liked OB. What else do we got? We got Billy Napier going from Louisiana to Gainesville and Florida Gators. I don't know. I'd like to see a higher quality. I think Florida really does have the potential to have a high quality team, but you got to keep a good coach around. And the Virginia Tech Hokies grabbing Brent Pry from Penn State, their defensive coordinator. I think that's a good hire. It's low end. It's not going to have a lot of impact on the national picture. But again, I think it's a good hire for the Hokies and a good hire, good for Penn State's defensive coordinator there. I also am reading here that Washington, the Huskies, looks like he grabbed Kalen DeBoer, got his start at Sioux Falls where he played in college. So they're going out into the unknown. He did do some coaching at Indiana and Georgia, so that's interesting to see that. And Oklahoma Sooners, of course, to be determined. The thing about Oklahoma, Bob Stoops, of course, is going to interim there, which is very interesting to see that. I don't think there's any indication that Bob Stoops is going to stay. I don't think there's any intention of that. He's simply filling a spot. And of course, everybody wants, every time a coach gets fired, Brent Venables' name comes up because everybody wants him to be a head coach somewhere. I don't see him leaving Clemson anytime soon, but after this year, maybe he does. And then, of course, Josh Heupel used to be the Sooners offensive coordinator before becoming Tennessee's head coach. So people are kind of hoping that he may go back to Sooner Nation as well. So just some coaching news for you guys to chew on a little bit.
Yeah, little names here and there. And Bob Stoops is going to be the interim. But the thing is, he has a retirement ceremony from college football, Hall of Fame type stuff.
Yeah.
That's in a couple weeks. So I don't think he's going to not retire and come back for 5 years. I think he's always going to have a hand in the program. And, he's a great guy. He's motivating the players still, just because it's such a shock to the community, especially the players. And whether you support Lincoln Riley or not, if you're a Sooner fan, you're a Sooner fan, and you felt it. But that's college chaos, and we still have some upsets coming this week because we're about to find out who's in, who's out. I do have. Can Utah do it again over Oregon?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
That's my first one.
There you go. No, I'm definitely on board with that. I definitely think Utah can do it again. They're definitely, out to prove it, if you will. Oregon trying to save their season, trying to save a little face there. The pressure's all on Oregon. Utah's already beat Oregon, so Oregon's got all the pressure on them. Utah's just got to go out there and play ball. So I can definitely hop on board with Utah over Oregon.
Yeah, we're gonna get some new faces on pretty much the championships on the board. I got Wake Forest over Pitt. I know they're really close in the rankings, but
they are.
16-15. Utah was, what was it, 17-10 or something like that.
I think Wake Forest has a really good game. I think Pitt does too, but I do think Wake Forest can outplay Pitt.
I think that might be a shootout. I love a shootout, especially.
Oh, that's going to be a great game, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I could go across the board and say everybody's going to be upset. I just don't really want to feel that. Like I can't. My percentage last week was pretty close to the bottom.
0. Yeah, no, it was spot on 0. We all were. I threw one out Rob threw out Syracuse over Pitt. It was there were upsets were not, they were close. But other than Michigan upsetting the Ohio State, you didn't really see a lot of. You saw a lot of great games, but I don't think you saw a lot of upsets. Almost with Auburn, it was so close it should have been. And Bedlam was everything that you hoped it would be. That just didn't happen.
Yeah, and right after this, we'll get into our top 4 for the college playoffs. But this one's been hitting me all.
And we're definitely still answering pro questions. So if you got questions, waiver wire stuff for the pros, we've just transitioned to college chaos for a little bit. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions for the pros, please shoot them out there because we definitely will answer them as they come in.
Yeah. So you know what number 21 Houston's going to do? They're going to beat number 4 Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you're going down. I'm just saying, like I can't. Cincinnati, here's the thing. I don't think you're going to beat Georgia or Michigan for that matter. And I don't see it.
Or Alabama.
The Cinderella story. No, yeah. Well, Alabama's strangely winning games, but they've been too close for Alabama. Everybody expects Bama to be great, and they are. So they put them up on this pedestal. Well, they're people too. They're young kids too. And the young men are working hard to win, and no one's giving them the credit. But, everybody's doing great. Cincinnati, if you win, get that Cinderella story. I think Houston might just upset you this week. And I know I've hit on you 3 times this year. I laid off of you last week because I knew you were going to take it. But this week, it's played in Cincinnati too, so you might have a little extra.
Uphill.
Good luck to you, Cincinnati. But I'm gonna go with an upset. And you were this close to making the college football playoffs, but like I've heard before, you're either elite or you're not. And right now, the top 4 teams, I can tell you when I go through those, you're kind of not in that.
I know a lot of people that are calling that Alabama-Georgia game, and a lot of them are conspiracy theorists. They say Alabama's going to win that game so that both of them get in. I can't argue with it. Statistically, I don't see it. I'm not calling the Alabama upset over Georgia because I think Georgia's defense is just one of the best college football has ever seen. So I still think Georgia's going to win that game, and it'll be interesting. If Georgia wins that game, it will be nice to see Alabama not. If Georgia wins that game, Alabama should not be in. I don't care if they are only a 2-loss team, and that second loss came to Georgia. I think they played Auburn too close. I think they've had too many close calls, and I will not have a problem seeing Cincinnati in. Being a realist, I understand that if Alabama wins, they're probably still going to be in because they're Alabama and whatever. I'm going to go ahead because I am still salty and I hate Harbaugh, so I'm taking Iowa over Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. And I just really hope that it's going to happen because I would love to see Harbaugh just screw up the whole damn thing. So I am going to take that.
I'm glad I saved that one for you because I knew you would want it. And here's the thing. You're saying Alabama loses to Georgia, but you're picking Iowa over Michigan. So Michigan's out. Cincinnati loses. Oklahoma State loses. Now you're looking for one last Notre Dame moving up. And so you got Georgia, Notre Dame, and then nothing but 2-loss teams. So what are you going to add in? Ohio
you know
State?
what? We will cross that road when we get there next week, group. There it is. College chaos continues. NFL chaos continues. Fantasy football chaos continues. Hopefully you're not on the bubble. Hopefully you've already locked it up. But if you are on the bubble, play to win. Take chances. No one ever won anything playing it straight. Root, there it is. You got anything for the kids on the way out?
Well, let's see. Tell you guys always be safe and have fun and talk a little trash. But is your team really talking the trash for you? I don't know. Mine are like in the middle somewhere. I'm like kind of like not noticed, but like, oh, hey, he's kind of cool. Like he might be able to, I just listen. It's college chaos. The chaos still goes over to fantasy, to the NFL. Have fun. Cheer for your team. Don't be ashamed of it, even if you're going to lose. Enjoy yourselves. It's what it's all about. Talk with your friends. and have fun and always be safe. Because you know what? It's all we have. Just have fun, be safe, and enjoy yourself. How's our host going to take us out today?
Points over stats, guys. Freaking play your studs and absolutely be safe out there. Christmas season around the corner. Don't overspend, but have a good time. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming out. T-Bone, love to see you. Rob, love to see you again. Aurora, everybody else who joined us. Sorry if I missed you. Rob Machado, thank you again so much for supplying the sick track you're all about to listen to. You guys have a great week, and we will see you guys next time. Yards after catch. Keep yakking football, everybody. And we are clear.
Clear to go.
Boom.